What's up everyone, I'm Pamela, welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to Sistapam SPOOKFEST 2024. Today I'm going to be ranking my top 100 horror and Halloween movies. So this will mostly consist of horror movies, but you'll notice as we go down the list, there will be some Halloween movies that are more so like nostalgic children's movies. There will be a few movies that are like Halloween movies that I watched as a kid. Just because we're doing Sistapam SPOOKFEST, I wanted to include some of these horror movies that I loved as a kid, that I still love to this day, that I rewatch every Halloween season. It is mostly horror movies, but there will be a few, kids Halloween movies. Just a reminder that this is just my opinion. There is no need to get worked up over the list, but please, if you disagree, leave a comment and let me know. We can always respectfully disagree with each other, which I love. I love that we all can have different opinions on these movies. Let me know if one of your favorites did not make the list or if you would rank these differently. Also, before we get into it, I do just want to remind you guys that I do have t-shirts for sale. They say Sistapam SPOOKFEST 2024. If you would like to purchase one, you can find the link down in the description. But let's get into today's ranking. Okay, now we are entering the top 10. Just a reminder that not all of these are going to be horror movies, but some of them are going to be children's Halloween movies. Because again, some of these are nostalgic for me. They are Halloween movies that I watch every year, ever since I was a kid. So coming in at number 10, we have Halloween 4. I know a lot of people are not huge fans of this movie. And I will admit, it's not necessarily the best movie ever. It does have its issues, but this movie is just very nostalgic for me. I watched Halloween 4 a lot as a kid, and still to this day, it's one of my favorite Halloween movies. So for that reason, I have Halloween 4 in 10th place. Next up in 9th place, I have Halloween Town 2. This is a Disney Channel original movie. So I do realize a lot of you here probably have never seen this movie, but it's one of my favorites. This is so nostalgic for me. It came out in the early 2000s, and I do think Halloween Town 2 is better than the first one. Next up in 8th place, I have Signs. This is actually my first memory of going to the movie theaters. I was very young when this came out. I think I was like 5 years old. I remember going to the movies with my uncle and my sister to see this movie, and this honestly traumatized me as a kid, and still to this day, it's one of my favorite horror movies. Next up in 7th place, we have The Mist. This movie is so good, and I have it ranked so high based on the ending alone. The ending of this movie is one of the best endings of any horror movie I've ever seen. This movie really stuck with me as a kid. Still to this day, it's one of those horror movies that I just constantly think about. Next up in 6th place, I have House of Wax. This movie is another one that is just so nostalgic for me. I love the cast. We have Chad Michael Murray, who was a staple of the early 2000s. We also have Jared Padalecki and Paris Hilton, who surprisingly was very good in this movie. I think she killed her role. I think this was a creative movie, good kills, a great ending, and I just love House of Wax. Next up in 5th place, we have Hocus Pocus. Like I said, not necessarily a horror movie, but more of a kid's Halloween movie. This one is super nostalgic for me. One of my absolute favorite movies to rewatch during the Halloween season. I probably rewatch it 20 times during the Halloween season. I just constantly have it on in the background. Next up in 4th place, we have Scream 4. Scream 4 is my favorite Scream sequel. I know there's a lot of people out there who won't agree with this. In fact, there's a lot of people out there who absolutely hate Scream 4, but for me, I just love it so much. It is the first Scream movie that I ever saw in theaters. I was a huge fan of Emma Roberts and Hayden Panettiere at the time, so I do think that played a big role in how I felt about it at the time. And this movie is just so nostalgic for me. After the original, Scream 4 is my favorite. I honestly could rewatch it every single day. Next up in 3rd place, I have Jeepers Creepers. This is one of my absolute favorite horror movies of all time. I was very young when I saw it. It started my love for Justin Long. He is one of my favorite actors ever. There is just so much to love about this movie. It's so nostalgic for me. I remember rewatching it at sleepovers growing up. It's so entertaining to watch. For me, it's just one of those movies that is so enjoyable throughout the entire movie. The ending is so good, and I honestly just love it so much. So for that reason, I have it in 3rd place. Coming in at number 2, I have the original Halloween from 1978. I mean, do I even need to say anything about this movie? It's so iconic. I think most of you would agree with me on this, that it is one of the best movies ever. Again, this movie is so nostalgic for me. I watched it so much as a kid, and this movie is just the entire Halloween season for me. This is one of those horror movies that I only watch during Halloween. I know there are a lot of people out there who will rewatch it all year long, but I like for it to remain special and have that nostalgic factor. So I really will only rewatch it during October. And finally, coming in at first place, surprise, surprise, I have Scream 1996. If you're familiar with my channel, then you know that I absolutely love the first Scream movie. It is my favorite movie of all time. I'm absolutely obsessed with it. There is nothing about this movie that I dislike. I'm obsessed with the actors, the characters, the storyline, the reveal at the end. I just truly could never get sick of this movie. I could rewatch it every single day. I mean, I've based my entire YouTube channel around this movie. In my opinion, this is a perfect movie. Again, it's very nostalgic for me, and I just think it did so much for the horror community at the time. Slashers in general. This genre was kind of dying at the time, and with Scream's release in 1996, it really revitalized the genre and really just brought it back to life. I cannot say enough good things about this movie, so I obviously had to place it in first place. But there you have it. That is my ranking of my top 100 horror and Halloween movies. Please let me know down in the comments if you disagree with any of this, if I failed to include one of your favorite horror movies. But like I said, let's keep it respectful. You know, we all have differing opinions and there's nothing wrong with that. Please give this video a like if you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. And please turn on all notifications so that you don't miss out on the rest of Sistapam SpookFest 2024. Thanks so much for tuning into another video, and I will see you guys next time.